general should be strong, unwavering, and tactful. Only someone extremely exceptional can have the courage to be a great general. Leader of the most technologically advanced kingdom in all of Remnant, General James Ironwood is an embodiment of the perfect general, or at least he was when first introduced. Ironwood was introduced in Volume 2, meeting Ozpin at Beacon along with Glinda. Ironwood, showing up in Vale with his whole army in tow, always loves a show of bravado. He believes that the most upfront approach is the best, however Ironwood always does what he believes is right for the people of Atlas, and all of Remnant. Shortly after being introduced, Ironwood showed that he was a man of intellect, yet also a man that believed that a show of force was necessary to provide the people of Remnant hope. Ironwood began the process of creating an automated army for the purpose of removing men from the battlefield, as he believed that automated soldiers were dispensable, but a human/faunus life was not. His automated army was a massive success in his eyes, leading to removing most of the sentient beings from the battlefield. Using automated soldiers has its downfalls, however, because they are remotely controlled from a ship, leading them to be extremely vulnerable to hacking, as seen when Torchwick was able to give Watts access to the mainframe that was controlling them during the fall of Beacon. Ironwood is first introduced when he shows up to Ozpin's office in Beacon, acting extremely friendly considering he had just brought his entire army to the kingdom of Vale. Ironwood expresses that he's come to catch up with Oz, to which Oz says it's a little concerning that he brought his whole army with him. Ironwood says that concern is what brought him and his army to Vale, and that Ozpin knows why he brought his fleet. He says he's being cautious, but Ozpin says he is too, and that because of that he's going to continue to train the best huntsmen and huntresses that he can. Ironwood then retorts with,
But ask yourself this. Do you honestly believe your children can win a war?
and with that, Ironwood walks out of Ozpin's office, thus ending the first interaction we've seen with the general. The next time we see the general is during the Beacon School dance, where he seems to be leaving due to being bored. He walks towards the CCT area where he runs into Ruby Rose, who had just fended off Cinder Fall, who unfortunately got away to the general's unfortunate timing. After said altercation, Ironwood tells Ozpin and Glinda about what had happened, and they invite Ruby to tell them what exactly happened. Ironwood, throughout this conversation, seems to be extremely mad that they aren't going on the offensive against their enemy. He expresses that Ruby did exactly what she should have. He then goes on to say the enemy could be anyone, even though she resembles someone Glinda may have fought earlier in the show. After Ruby tells them that she heard about a hideout in the southeast, Ironwood says they should send as many troops there as possible and eradicate the enemy, to which Ozpin disagrees, much to the anger of the general. Ironwood says that they need to go on the offensive, and Ozpin basically says that they need to send in scouts first. Due to this, Ironwood contacts the Vale Council and takes over the security of Vale, because the council has indicated that it's lost its faith in Ozpin. Ironwood says that he will keep the people safe and that Oz needs to trust him. Afterward, the general states Oz has brought it down on himself, indicating Ironwood has ulterior motives than just taking over security. The next appearance from Ironwood is during a courtyard scuffle between Crow, Bronwyn, and Winter Schnee, where he is seen breaking up the fight. He later tells Crow that if Crow was one of his men, he'd have him shot, to which Crow replies he'd shoot himself. Ironwood tells Crow he can't just go dark in the field, leading to Crow getting mad, stating communication is a two-way street, and that Ironwood could have contacted him. Ironwood later in the conversation says that he believes his army being in Vale is necessary. He says,
People of Vale needed someone to protect them, someone who would act. When they look to the sky and see my fleet, they feel safe.
Crow, Ozpin, and Glinda all agree that the army being brought to Vale was unnecessary, leading to Ironwood questioning what they should do instead. After this, Ironwood doesn't appear again until Pyrrha is being told about the maidens, really only saying anything when it comes to the technology keeping the Fall Maiden alive. He says that what's going on is delicate and confidential, and that they can give Pyrrha the life force of the Fall Maiden. In other words, her aura. The general says that these are desperate times and they wouldn't normally turn to this type of tactic. In his next showing, Ironwood makes a brief appearance to let Team Ruby, specifically Yang, know that they've been disqualified. He says he thinks they're good students and that he believes Yang was just stressed. When Yang starts to say something, he quiets her down and explains the situation clearly before walking out. When Cinder starts putting on her sinister speech explaining what's going on after Penny's tragic death, Ironwood is seen standing up in an enraged state. He makes his way up to the broadcast area telling the people to stay calm, and being told by Ozpin to use his army to fend off the incoming Grim attack. He then gives the green light for his army to start attacking the Grim. After this, he's seen overseeing some of his automated soldiers taking on some of the Grim. After his soldiers are inevitably defeated, he has one of his most badass scenes in the entire series. He battles a Beowulf head-on, stopping one of its powerful strikes with just one hand. He then flips the beast and shoots it in the head before calmly walking away. When the students eventually meet up with Ironwood, he tells them this.
You have two choices. Defend your kingdom and your school, or save yourselves. No one will fault you if you leave. Let's move out!
Directly after this, the students see the general and his ship crashing into the ground due to his soldiers turning on him. It seemed as though he was dead, but he wasn't. He makes an appearance saving Carden from his own hacked soldiers, discarding them as if they were useless beings. He keeps a level head throughout the Battle of Beacon, only losing his nerve when he sees Crow charging him with his weapon out, even though he was actually charging a Grim behind him. Ironwood then gives orders as any general would, stating he needs to make it to his ship, which ironically crashes as he says it. After this, he doesn't make another appearance in the volume, and it's assumed he finished off the battle and left for Atlas. Ironwood throughout this entire arc showed that no matter what, he wanted what was best for the people of Remnant, and that he didn't fully understand what it was that was best for Remnant. He would do whatever he could to help save the people from certain doom that they faced. Due to this, he was an extremely well-liked character for the first 3 volumes. After the fall of Beacon, Ironwood fled to Atlas, where he was seen trying to save Atlas from going to war with other nations, as the people see the fall of Beacon as Atlas's fault, due to the robot soldiers turning on everyone. We first see him engaged in an argument with Jacques Schnee, where he's telling Jacques that he wants to close down the borders until the kingdom is safe from outside attack. The general is extremely courteous when he sees Weiss, who had just walked in, saying he'll always have a place at Atlas Academy for her if she wants it, before walking out and leaving the Schnee household. After this, while we don't see him do it, we hear that Ironwood has created a synthetic arm for Yang, who had gotten her arm cut off at the fall of Beacon, out of the kindness of his own heart. This is one of the acts where we see he truly does care about the people of Remnant, because it's not like he knows Yang. In fact, his only interaction with her prior to giving her the arm was disqualifying her from the Vital Fighting Festival. There's absolutely no reason for him to have given her a prosthetic arm, but he did so anyways. Many people chalk this up to plot, but I believe it's more than that.
Brand new, state-of-the-art Atlas tech. You know, I thought I was going to have to pull some strings, call in a few favors, but you were in this one all on your own, kiddo.
Huh?
Before I could even talk to him, General Ironwood already had one of his top scientists working on this. For you. He wanted me to tell you that you fought admirably. You should be proud of yourself.
It shows how Ironwood does what he can to help the people of Remnant, even if he doesn't know them very well, if at all. He makes the hard decisions that will benefit the people in the end, which is exactly what a great general needs to be able to do. He shows that he's a great general, but also a great person who's willing to do whatever it takes to save everyone that he can. He's more than willing to sacrifice the few to save the many, even if he doesn't personally agree with doing it. He knows he has to do whatever is necessary to save the people. After Weiss has a meltdown at her father's charity party, Ironwood appears, shooting Weiss's accidental summon and stating that Weiss was the only person making sense at the party, before once again walking out of the scene. He's later seen arguing with Jacques, once again saying that Atlas's borders will be shut down immediately for the good of the kingdom. He says he doesn't trust anyone except himself. He shows that he knows Atlas needs him to protect them, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to do so. Ironwood's semblance is what gives him the ability to make the hard decisions of doing what needs to be done. His semblance is called metal. And what it does is it backs up his resolve and gives him the ability to go through with any decision no matter what happens or what's at stake. He believes throughout the entire show that what he's doing is right for the people of Remnant in the long run, even if he has to sacrifice people to save some. Due to his semblance, he's able to go through with anything, including terrible ideas, such as bombing Mantle. While to him it makes sense because it will save more people in the end, Team Ruby is forced to stand against him while he still believes what he's doing is what's right. Team Ruby shows up in Atlas, to which Ironwood is happy when he first sees them, even trusting them enough that he tells them all his plans almost immediately, including his Amity Arena plans. His plan was to create a communications tower high enough in the sky so that global communications will never go down again. And once he was done building the tower, he'd finally tell everyone in Remnant about the real fight going on in the shadows. He's seen showing true care for someone when he gives Crow a hug and says he missed him. He proceeds to keep Team Ruby and company informed with almost everything that he's doing while making strong and hard decisions for the betterment of Atlas. Throughout Volume 7, he's seen as the hope of Remnant, as he's keeping Atlas safe while also keeping the public in the dark with what's really going on in the world because it's necessary. While most of Mantle, the city under Atlas, hates Ironwood, he's doing his best to protect them. He even has the most calm reaction to Oscar telling him that Salem is invincible. He still believes that it would be in the best interest of Remnant to tell everyone about Salem, which he eventually does, but only Atlas receives the message. After Salem shows up in the skies around Atlas, Ironwood takes it upon himself to declare that he'll be abandoning Mantle for the good of Atlas. He sees that if he tries to save Mantle, he could end up dooming not only Atlas, but Mantle too. So he makes the hard decision to abandon Mantle, which Team Ruby stands against him on. After what he perceived as betrayal from Team Ruby and company, he calls for their arrest as he believes they're now against him. This is where everything started to go south. He started to believe that only he knew what was best for Remnant, leading him to shooting one of the other councilmen so that they wouldn't question him. He continues to go against Team Ruby while still believing what he's doing is right. He knows what he's doing isn't morally right, but he also knows that he needs to take the safest action and save who he can, and anyone he can't save will just have to be left. Due to his semblance, he begins to go to more extremes than we've seen him go to, even calling for the bombing of Mantle if Penny doesn't come to the relic vault. He knows that while bombing Mantle isn't smart, he needs to show that he'll do what needs to be done to save Remnant. And by bombing Mantle, he's getting rid of any reason Penny and Team Ruby have of defying him. Unfortunately, at this point, Ironwood has been overtaken by his semblance, but no one even realizes it. Watching him fall from grace and be vilified due to something out of his control was kind of sad, but to most people it was just confusing. Ironwood went from a great character to a vilified, wasted potential character. He can't change his mind because of his semblance, it pushes him too far, and that ruins his character. And when the writers had the chance to change this, they didn't. His aura was broken when he was thrown in jail, which is what keeps his semblance going. But instead of writing it so Ironwood realized what he was doing, he killed Jacques Schnee and fought Winter Schnee. And they didn't take back what his semblance was doing to him. It just seemed like he was going insane. He became dehumanized, which ultimately led to his death as Atlas crashed down into Mantle, and he is believed to have drowned in the resulting flood. Anyways, that is going to do it for this video. I tried to go more in depth in this one than I have previously. I don't know if it worked out too well. I know that my voice kind of is boring, but you guys will get over it. Let me know what you guys think about Ironwood, and let me know what character I should analyze next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.